I'm Jenny Blackwood, a small-town mom of 4 who refused to settle for a life that didn't light me up. When everything felt uncertain, I didn't run back to a 9-to-5. I bet on myself. I took a simple idea and turned it into an almost 7-figure business my first year, all while being a mom first. Now I'm here to help you trust your own power, chase the dream that keeps tapping your shoulder, and build a life that feels like you. This is Girl, Why Not You?
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another very exciting episode of Girl, Why Not You? I, as always, am your host, Jenny Blackwood, and today's conversation is going to hit home for so many of you because it's about being a woman who is doing all the things. Can you relate to that? You're showing up for your family, your kids, your work, your goals, and somewhere in the middle of that, you start to feel like you've lost a piece of yourself. Not because you're doing anything wrong, let's make that clear, but because you're doing literally everything. And I think that so many women are actually carrying so much right now, but we carry it quietly. Today, I'm joined by Jennifer Blair, the founder and CEO of Deka Lash, a brand that has grown to over 125 locations across the country. But what I love most about her story, you guys, is this didn't start as some massive business plan. It started as a busy mom of 4. I can relate to that, Jennifer, who just wanted a simpler way to feel like herself again. And that moment turned into something so much bigger. Jennifer, I am so excited to have you on Girl, Why Not You today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here too.
Good. It's going to be a great conversation. Oh gosh, I'm seeing that if you're watching this on YouTube, I have to watch my shirt. We're getting a little revealing down here. I'm so happy to have you here. Like, your story is truly inspiring. I cannot wait to provide all of these juicy details to the people listening here today. What I would love to do is I would like for you to take us back to the time where you decided, you know what? I have an idea and I'm going to do something about it. How did that idea come to you?
Yeah, well, let's go back 2012 actually.
Okay.
So we're going back a long time ago. And I'm a busy mom of 4 at that point. My kids were 14, 12, 6 and 3, I believe. So
wow.
You're in the thick of things when that's happening. You know, you're running around. If it's not sports, it's play dates, it's birthday parties, trying to find time for yourself. My husband also traveled all the time. So he was a consultant. So he left on a Monday, came back on a Friday. So really, I was left doing.
Girl.
I know, right?
I am hurting for you. Yes.
How am I still here? How did I survive? But I did, and you can. But, you know, so basically I was there taking care of everything myself all week long and doing things.
Wow.
And I heard about lashes. So I don't know if when I would go somewhere special, like a wedding or go away for something, I would always do the strip lashes. And I felt like I was just put together. Like, that was my favorite accessory. It just made me look awake. It made me feel look polished, and just, I don't know, it was that finishing touch that kind of gave me my superpower.
Yes.
But then, of course, they only last for that night, and then you're back to regular.
It's so sad.
Yes, then you're sad and tired again. And I heard about lashes, and I heard about lash extensions, and I wanted something that I kind of could feel like that all the time without having to do that all the time. So
right. Tedious work.
And those strip lashes are so hard to put on. Like, even if you attempt to it's impossible to do. And that's really how it came. I heard about lash extensions. I went to try to find somewhere to get them done because it was more of a lifestyle than just like a weekend lash. And I really had a hard time finding anywhere to get them done. Either they were super expensive, or because I was a mom with 4 kids, inconvenient. Their times were limited. Totally. There wasn't really anywhere to go and get them done. And we ended up going away on a trip for my husband's birthday. It was his 40th birthday, and we were going to Vegas, and I ended up finding someone to get my lashes done, and I absolutely loved the way that they felt. So I had the idea. I was already teetering on going back to work. So I was a stay-at-home mom for many years. And as the kids were all getting older, my youngest was now in preschool, I was thinking about going back to work. And I always loved beauty just for what it made me feel like and how I knew it made other people feel.
Yeah.
So I said to my husband, what do you think if I go back, if I'm having problems finding something like this? It was a little more accessible in Las Vegas, but back in Pittsburgh, PA, and most of the other places in US, it was not. And I said, if I'm having trouble, other women are too. What do you think about me going back to work? And like a good husband, happy wife, happy life. So he's like, if that's what you want to do. And I really at that time was just also looking for something for myself. Get out of the house, to have adult conversation, and just do something different than I had been doing. Not that I didn't like what I was doing, but it was just time for, okay, like what's next for me?
Yeah. Next chapter, new start.
Yeah. So I went and took the class to be certified. So I grew up in beauty with my mom. She was always in the beauty industry, selling professional products, worked in the salon. So I was kind of familiar with like that aspect of it. And I had a really good friend who owned a salon, and I asked if I could rent some space, and I was going to take this class, and this was what my plan was. And at that time, it was like lashes, like, what do you mean? That can't be a business, right? Like, how can you make a business out of lashes? And I didn't know either. So I decided to run a Groupon because it was the most inexpensive way. We didn't have a lot of money to start a business and open a brick and mortar and do a whole build out. And I was renting the space, and Groupon was fairly new back in 2012. And I said, it's kind of like a consignment. You run the Groupon and then they pay you after you do the service. So I really had no money into it except for paying to get certified and then buying the supplies. And I went to take the class and they canceled on me. But the Groupon was I know, but the Groupon was already scheduled, and I didn't want to cancel it because it took so much longer to get back on the books, and there was lack of attendance for the class. So I ended up convincing my mother to take the class with me because they needed 3 people, and she said, "Okay, I'll take the class." And we did the class, and the Groupon ran, and I had like over 300. I was hoping to sell like 20, just to see if there was an interest, and it had sold out of over like 300. And
oh, girl, oh my, were you like in panic mode at that point?
I said, I'm quitting. I'm done. This is not what I signed up for. I was going back to work around my kids' schedule, bus stop, pick up, a couple hours, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, no, and the training class was one day that taught me absolutely nothing. But I had all these people that wanted this service done. And I was like, what am I going to do? And it was actually my husband who pushed me. He's like, you can do this. I know you can.
Got this, babe.
Yeah, I know. So, so I just had any friends and family would come over and like lie on my couch to practice applying eyelashes and try to get myself ready to take on these clients that I had already pre-sold to. That obviously were very interested in getting the service done, and I didn't want to let them down, and I didn't want to. But part of me just so wanted to quit because it was way more than I had signed up for at that time. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but that's really the start of everything. That was what
so wild
put me into knowing there was a need, there was a demand for it, like right out the gates. So that's kind of, I just threw myself all in at that point and leaned into what had happened and was ready for the ride and what was to come next. So.
Gosh, I'm getting this like weird visual as you're talking about like, these big machines out like mining for gold. And then all of a sudden they just strike gold on accident. They're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. For people who listen to this podcast regularly, I hope that you're seeing a common theme. You're seeing that starts are not perfect. They're not like planned. Or she's like, I think I'd rather do lashes. So I have flexibility. So I have more time with my kids. I don't want a 9 to 5. Let me just see what this is all about. So she took a chance on something she knew nothing about. She had some interest. She started because she herself had this pain point where she was like, can a girl get her freaking lashes done around here? Like, come on, right? And so you started from a pain point that you observed. And what we have to always say is, if I'm stumbling across this pain point, surely many others are too, just like you did. And boy, were you like, holy smokes, when you put that Groupon out and you thought, I don't know, maybe we'll get like a few people that want this. 300 people later. Panicking.
I was panicking. I remember it's almost like a ticker that you're watching because when it sells, it shows you on the back end. And I was like, oh, what are we getting ourselves into? Oh my gosh. It was excitement, but then scary at the same exact time.
Good thing mom went through the class too. Did she end up putting lashes on people also during that time?
It was she she was my support person after that. She never actually was able to, never fully went into it. But yeah, she helped watch the kids on times when, the evenings and all those kind of things as life started from there, got way crazier and busier than anybody would expect because, after doing it for a couple months, that's when I realized like we're on to something here. Like this, we need to bottle this because this is something big. And as clients kept coming back and referrals, I quickly grew out of that one studio that I was renting out of that salon and needed to move on. So that it was a pretty big life-changing moment for us at that point. And that's, when we realized. So the next thing I did was we decided to move out and do like a brick and mortar. And we wanted to prove it. Okay, can it stand on its own by itself? I'm in the salon. I ran the Groupon. I'm getting referrals from people that are getting their hair done and their nails and they're coming down. But what if I just opened up a standalone, just dedicated just to lashes? Would people come for that? Would it be enough to support a business? And that was our next kind of evolution, was like getting out of this one little room and building a place that was dedicated to just eyelash extensions. And that was the next test that we did. And we did it on a very tight budget. Again, 4 kids.
That's okay.
We, we're on a budget because we've got we had to be scrappy. And so it wasn't what it is today. That's for sure. But again, it was just, the thought was never to build anything like a big franchise and grow it. It was serving the purpose, what we needed right then and there. And then it continued to grow and learn from there.
So you expanded your brick and mortar. At this point, are you like hiring other lash artists? Like, what does that look like? What's expansion look like?
Yeah. So the next step really for us for expansion was when I needed to hire other people because I was super busy myself and hated to turn anybody away. Right. I mean,
nobody wants to say no to business.
Yeah. So at an esthetician and cosmetology school, they don't teach the art of eyelash extension application. They may talk about it more so now, but not even now. But then they didn't. So to be able to grow and expand, I created my own training program where I would hire estheticians or cosmetologists and put them through a training. And it was more than what I went through because I went through the one day and they said, okay, you're certified. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, I really am not. I know I am on paper, but I don't think that I'm qualified to be able to do this. Hence all of my friends and family before I actually took anybody paying client. But we really thought the only way to do that was to create our own training program. So we did an academy, hired, trained, and that allowed us to expand into 3 more locations. So we had 4 locations in Pittsburgh before we decided to take it outside of Pittsburgh. But it was that foundation of being able to have that training program and realizing that there was that gap. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to hire anybody to be able to do the services, to bring the clients in. The demand was there, but we needed people to do it. And so that was kind of, we were at a little bit of a standstill just because that took a little bit of time for us to be able to figure that out, grow that piece of it, hire, train everybody. And then, but once we did, and we had the 4 locations going in Pittsburgh, that's when we kind of started to have a little bit more of a well-oiled machine. And it wasn't perfect by any sense, but we felt like it was a little better than what we had when we were just hiring the first 5 people. Once we got into hiring 40 or 50 people, we were like, okay, we feel a little bit better about doing this. Yeah.
Wow. So how fast was this all unfolding from you being at the school, getting certified, to throwing out that Groupon, to now you have 4 locations in Pittsburgh? What's that timeline look like?
So it was 2012 when I took the certification, was renting the space out. And then it was 4 years later. So it was 2016 is when we decided. So my husband basically, I think in 2015, 2 or 3 years after doing it, he quit his full-time job.
Nice.
And so, it was a little nerve-wracking because I was always like, you have the real job, you have, it's consistent. You have the, the health insurance, the 401k, everything. It was like helping us do what he did. But it was really his idea, like to take it outside of Pittsburgh. I was content. I was like, this is, I'm good. Like these 4 locations taking over Pittsburgh, like we're the last
You're like, this
queen.
feels like I've made it. I'm good here. Yeah.
But so in 2016, after he had already stopped working and started building some of the infrastructure that allowed us to go out and franchise, reaching out to some of his colleagues, people that knew about franchising. We knew the business, but we didn't know anything about franchising. So that's where we had to surround ourselves with people who understood that side of the business so that we could now take it to another level after that.
That is incredible. I really love how you have really showed us that your husband is a really great partner. There seems like there was times where like you were kind of like the brains behind it. This is what I think. This is what we want to do. But there's times where we do start to kind of like go inward and go, I don't know. Should I even do this? This seems crazy. Or maybe I don't want to expand. But it seems like he's a really good partner for you in this because he's kind of showing you can dream bigger. Hey, don't quit here. Or like, why you haven't come this far to come this far. Let's keep going, Jennifer. Let's keep going. And so you did. So what was the next state? You're learning all about franchising, which is its own beast. Yeah. What was the next state that you expanded into?
Our next state was in Utah, Salt Lake City. Okay. Very far away from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yes.
Yeah. How did that transpire? Like, how did you go? How did you even get this out to the people that you were franchising this? And how did like the first one start in Utah? Yeah, it's, franchising is a whole different animal. Like I did not realize either what franchising was. You see businesses out there and you don't really realize how many franchises are actually locally owned people that live in their community that have bought into an idea because maybe they, for what they have a passion for, they have experience in it, something. So learning about franchising, we worked with business coaches who helped people who wanted to be an entrepreneur, but needed a little bit of help doing it. So they wanted to own their own business, but they just needed that infrastructure to kind of like plug into so that, all the marketing and all those operational things were already taken care of. And that's what we had built over the 4 years of kind of like that playbook per se. And they go out and they talk to people who are looking to do that. So our first owners, which was Steve and Liz, and he was an attorney. He was looking for his next opportunity, kind of get out of corporate world. He had 2 daughters. He loved the whole empowering women thing. Even though this is lashes and beauty, really it's about feeling good at yourself as a female and doing those little extra things that really make you feel better. Because when you feel better, you're more confident. When you're more confident, you're more productive, right? So all of those things play into like the empowerment of women and those little things that we do for ourselves that mean so much. And he really loved that story. It resonated with him, his wife, his daughters, and he was our first franchisee. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. Everything just falls into place the way it's supposed to. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to, hello, puppy. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be easy. Falling into place sounds like, oh, everything just lined up perfectly and everything fell into place like it should. But you had to get through some different steps to get to that point. I think that is so awesome. So you talk a lot about beauty. It kind of started when you were a kid. Your mom was really into beauty. And you've said that beauty shouldn't feel like another job. So when did that really like click for you? Did you feel like once this was up and running, you're doing something in the beauty industry? Has it ever felt like a job?
It has turned into a job, but at the roots of it is still not a job. So I always say there's no better place than I love is still being in the studio where I can hear all the oohs and the ahs and the thank yous and, oh my God, I feel like myself again. Once they look in the mirror at those, because lashes are like a instant gratification. Like you notice the difference right away. So I love being in there. I love the fact that we have this training program and that we are giving girls, women, young women, out of esthetician school and cosmetology, a career path. Like to me, that is so important to me because they really come in and are able to build a career. And like I said, we have different avenues for them to go so they can become a trainer, a manager, a regional manager. We have like committees that they can sit on with corporate and meet with myself. And there's many times where if a lash artist is leaving one location, maybe moving from one state to another, and there's a Deka Lash, almost always they reach out to that owner and they want to still stay within Deka Lash. So for me, I feel like something is good. Like the culture's good, the environment's good, the product's good. So that really makes me feel good. But there are times where with anything, we're trying to innovate. We want to make sure we're staying relevant. There's numbers to meet, quotas. So that part is there's a job to all of this that makes it all work and run.
That is so freaking cool. I mean, seriously, I'm also a mom of 4. So when I think about all that you did and built in such a fast amount of time, wow, motherhood was your number one. I think that is incredible.
Yes. And the balance of it all. I mean, I tell people, and even people when they're coming in to think about like owning a Deka Lash or a franchise, and you have to have a support system behind you. That's so important. And my family was always so supportive of me. There was times I had to miss games or practices, or I was late picking somebody up. And, but I think everybody knew that I was doing something that I loved. There was a reason. I always made it known, like, my job's not first. You're not first. Like, this is all of us together. And a fun fact, Deka's named after my daughter. So the first initials of Demi and Carly. So the D and the K comes from them. But I think I'm lucky because we just made it like a family affair, and everybody knew that we had to work together to make it all work, because otherwise it wouldn't have at all. So their life wouldn't have been easier, or neither would mine.
It's very true. Sometimes there is short-term sacrifices for the long-term gain. And I think many of us who do go the entrepreneurial route as women, as moms, there's a lot of guilt associated with that too in the building phase, because it requires a lot of you. And there's a lot of things behind you and your brand that require you. You can hire people in certain places, but it wouldn't be Deka Lash without Jennifer, right? Powering the whole thing. So I think that being able to understand that if you want to build something, there is going to be games missed. There are going to be those things, but you're having like a short-term pain point for a long-term absolute glow up of your life and your family's life and your kids' lives. And so it's hard. It's hard to accept that sometimes, but I'm proud of you that you got through that part. And I know, I don't know you other than this lovely conversation today, but I would guess to say your kids probably never felt that. They probably never felt that it skipped a beat with your relationship with them and what you poured into them. So good for you. So you start in Utah, you blew up. Now you have over 125 locations nationwide.
Yes, we had, it's really about like those first few franchisees that help you build a system afterwards. And so it was really like 2018 and 19 are really, honestly, like we were on a rocket ship. Like it felt like we were opening studios like monthly, traveling so much, going out to openings. And it was fun. It was. I mean, that part of it was exciting, but there was another part that was also very exhausting. And so it was a balance, but luckily there was a lot of like fun things that were happening, and you felt like you were making the world a better place. You were helping people get into a business. You were hiring and training, women to have careers. So there was like a lot of good feelings, I think, that was able to offset some of that guilt, as you said, that, just naturally comes. And I think we all feel those as moms. It's just, you always feel like you could have maybe done a little bit more. Yeah.
We're always beating ourselves up. We're so good at that.
Late. I was consistently late, but that's not just because of Deka. That was like, that's just unfortunately me. I've gotten better about just because the kids are older and I don't have as much going on, but yeah.
I get it, girl. We all have our shining qualities. We all have things about us that could improve. That's just being human. But I do think it's important that we kind of emphasize here what you did. You really had such a beautiful butterfly effect on so many other people, because without you starting this, so many other people's lives would not have been impacted. And that is, yes, people who started the franchise, yes, the lash artists themselves that you gave them a career path, but it's also people who just felt more beautiful and more confident.
Yeah.
And it's like there's really a true trickle-down effect from everything that you've built, and that is something to be so freaking proud. Everything you've done is worth being so proud of. So for you, I mean, you've gotten to this place, like it's a well-oiled machine, like you said, like you're just, people are popping up all over the place. What's next for Jennifer? What's next for you, my friend? You've hit such beautiful high levels already. I'm curious.
It's still just working on improving what we have, really. I'm still here to stay and be in the business. We've started expanding a little bit. So in the beginning, when I talked about, we were always dedicated to lashes, and that's where we, hung our hat. We were the experts in eyelashes, and we did it really well, and we honed in on that. But over the last couple years, we've listened to our clients, and they wanted other services. They were already getting other services, and they wanted to be more convenient. So we added skincare on in the last few years in about a little over half of our locations. And now we're starting to add in some other services like metaesthetics. So
nice.
Some of more the Botox type appointments, some microneedling, and some of those other things that, really just focusing from the neck up to add.
Yeah.
And then the whole idea in the very beginning was to make things convenient, right? Because I had that, I couldn't find somewhere to go, and hours were fragmented. And it was also to be affordable without like compromising what that quality would be. So this idea of adding more services under one roof, it just kind of still leans into that, because it's still convenient. When you're running around trying to get your nails done and your hair done and the other things you need to get done, it's kind of like a part-time job,
For
like
sure.
you're driving around all these places. Yes, trying to get So the idea is like being that convenient one-stop shop where you can come in, feel safe, and have like a nice experience and get multiple things done, so you can continue to save time and spend it elsewhere where instead of running around all the different places to get ready.
Convenience, convenience, convenience. That is everything today, right? We are consumers who want convenience. And it's like you said, I mean, you'd already mastered the lash aspect of this business. So expansion. What can we do next? What can make this a better experience for people? That's how entrepreneurs think, everyone. So for you, I want to just dial back to who you were before you ever got here. Did you ever see your life going in this direction? Did you know you were going to be this massive, badass power woman with this huge business behind you?
No, I didn't. I never really thought that far out. My husband and I got married pretty young, and I started having a family right away, and that really took over most of my time, and that's where I spent my energy. And so there wasn't any room for thinking about that. I supported him and his career and what he was doing, and him going back to get his master's and everything that he was. I was the CEO of the house. That's what I was doing until there was that time where I said, okay, like now it's my time, and what am I going to do? So
yes. Yeah, this wasn't where you saw your life going necessarily, but you took a chance. Like you were needing more. You needed something, but never in your wildest dreams, I'm sure, did you imagine that it was going to grow into this nationwide, unbelievable corporation. I am so proud of you. I mean, I just can't even tell you how inspiring it is. And think about how many people are listening to this today, maybe going, man, all I ever feel is buried and I could never get there. But why the hell not, people? Why not you?
Right.
And so I ask you, what would you tell somebody listening to this now, a mom, a woman, anybody who's like, how did she do that? I want to do that. Like, what would be your words of wisdom to somebody who's sitting on an idea but hasn't quite gotten to the action part yet?
Well, I think it's don't wait around for the perfect time, because there's not going to be a perfect time, and then you're not going to have everything figured out. You're not going to have, all the pieces in place. You're not going to have all the funding in place that you need to grow something like that. It doesn't. In a perfect world, maybe that would happen. But if you wait for that, then you're going to let your dreams or ideas go by without it ever coming true. So I would say, if you're thinking about doing something, take small steps. Don't stand still. Just take small steps to where you want to be, and you'll be surprised how things naturally will start to fall into place, especially if they're meant to be, right? If you find something out there that you're passionate about, that's the biggest thing, because it's so much easier when you're passionate about something, when you're not just running after it for the dollars, because that makes it even harder. So like when you're, kind of got that, you're grinding and you're putting in the long hours and you're pulling your hair out and you're putting things on credit cards to get by because, you need to buy more things. It leans back to that passion, that what you're doing, I think is what helps. And then just like I said, just keep moving forward, and don't wait for that right moment, because if any of us wait for that right moment, time's going to pass you by and we don't have it to wait.
So, so true. Everybody listen to her words, listen to it on repeat. This is somebody who truly, literally thought they were signing up to do a couple of people's lashes and throw a Groupon out there. And now, Jennifer, would you mind sharing with the what's your business valued at today?
Well, I actually don't know exactly the value of what the business is. I apologize that I don't know what that is.
I feel your PR person gave me a very impressive number.
Okay. Yeah, I would say it's definitely, it's in the several digit $1 million business. So, but
that's a safe way to say it. I have goosebumps. And what I love about you is you're so humble. You are like the coolest person ever, and you have built something massive. And this is like,
thank you for having me to share the story. I love sharing my story. I love reminiscing too, because life is at such a fast pace that you're always thinking forward and what's next? What can I do? What's the next mountain I have to climb? And not even just in business, personal. It's, so still juggling the kids. They're older. I still have one in school. I have one in college. I have one that's getting married. So, nothing is slowed down really. And then you have your friends and trying to, I still want to have a social life. My friends are important to me, my family, my mother. So it's, there's still like a lot of stuff going on. But it's all things that I think help you continue to grow as a person and not stay, stagnant either. As a, emotionally and professionally, there's still just always something out there that keeps you going.
So true. And what I'm hearing from you is you didn't have to sacrifice what meant the absolute most to you in your life. You still were able to build this on top of all of it. So I think that's where people have like a really big misconception is they think it has to be one or the other. You're either the powerhouse CEO and you're not there for your kids, or you don't have kids at all, or, you're the opposite. You're at home, you're a stay-at-home mom, and that's all you are. Which, by the way, if anybody ever says that's all you are about a stay-at-home mom, we'll cut you. But seriously, you know what I mean? Like that is what I think the very common misconception is. And so Jennifer is here to tell y'all, you can do it all, people. You can absolutely do it all. And I think you've opened a lot of doors on this call for people potentially. If anybody's interested, maybe somebody is out there going, I would like to open a Deka Lash lounge. We're going to give you the information on how to get a hold of Jennifer. But maybe you're somebody who's just like, I've been looking for a great place to get my lashes done. And I would like to find a Deka Lash lounge to get my beauty services. There's that too. So Jennifer,
yes,
tell us, how do we get a hold of you?
Well, we have on our website, we have, when you go to the dekalash.com, there's find a studio. So it'll pull up any studio. You can type in your zip code. It'll help you find a location. We have everything else, you can check my LinkedIn for some activities that I do. I go into the shows. I do some different speaking events. So there's more, some things on that page about me. But we also have products. So if anybody's interested in just looking at our product line, that's something that we did develop along the way, is something that's specific to Deka Lash. And we have on our website, there's a shop products, so like an e-com site. But then we also are just launched on Amazon like a year ago. So we are on there as well.
Oh my goodness, you have given us all a lot to think about today.
Yeah.
We are all going to reevaluate our lives and try to be the next Jennifer Blair out there, just absolutely crushing it with your dreams, something that you love, something that you're passionate about, and impacting so many other people while you're building your empire. So thank you, Jennifer, so much for being here today. And everybody, if you need to listen to this over and over again, do it. There is God doesn't have favorites, okay? All of you are capable of these things. You just have to make a decision. You have to find something you're passionate about, and you have to be willing to take risks and see it through. Jennifer, thank you so much for everything you've shared with us today. I am impacted. I know, but everybody else is too. I hope you have the best rest of your day, everybody.
If something in this episode made you sit up a little straighter or dream a little bigger, don't ignore it. That's your future nudging you. I'm living proof that you can start messy, start scared, start in the worst timing, and still create something beautiful. Thank you for listening to Girl, Why Not You? Now go take one small step towards the life you've been craving. Hit subscribe, leave a review if you feel called, and share this with someone who's ready for more.